Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. As usual, got a lot to talk about. Want to get straight to it. And, this time of the week, we usually have our good friend Chris Kidd in. And his website, chriskidd, KIDD.com. He is a coach. He's a great source of information. And I'm always delighted to have him on the program. How are you, sir?
I'm great.
Tell us a little bit about what Chris Kidd is all about. What do you do?
Well, I'm all about helping families when you really break it down, but I want to help people with all kind of financial issues. I deal with, helping people get out of debt and how to build wealth, how to understand investing and not just be like at the mercy of whatever's happening or whatever somebody tells me, how, people can just I teach my clients how they can actually check up on their investments, even if they have somebody else managing it. So at least they kind of have a good feeling for what's going on, and they don't have somebody do some screwy stuff with their money, like the Bernie Madoff type example or something like that. But business, personal finance, and investing are the three things that I really focus on.
So talk about how people engage with you. First of all, obviously, you aren't merely making money coaching others. You're making money managing your investments, right?
Yeah, I've actually had clients tell me that they know.
Not that you couldn't, but, people should do what they teach, right? So
I'm a believer in, doing not just being a teacher, but also being a doer or somebody with experience. There's a lot of people in a lot of fields who really have no idea what they're doing. You'll find in colleges there's a lot of business professors who have never run a business in their life. In fact, I had one business professor tell me that one time. He actually had, in fact, the time we were talking, he had just sold one of his companies for like $3 million. And he said, I'm the only professor in this entire business school who has actually run a business in their life. Nobody else really even has any real knowledge of what they're doing. They're teaching, from books and stuff, which is fine. I mean, you can learn something from that, but there's something else about real life experience.
Well, and all those books are written by people who don't have business experience.
Yeah, well,
and the vast majority of the cases.
And if some of them were, I mean, it's always, anytime I read a book, one of the things that I want to do, especially if it's an author that I'm not familiar with, is I want to check and find out who are some of the people in the back of the book, who are the people who are endorsing this book, what do they have to say about it. And when I find some people that I'm very familiar with who carry a lot of credibility and they're saying this guy knows what he's talking about, then that's kind of gives me the okay to go ahead and get that, because I don't want to just get anything. But you only
can do that because you've got years of business experience.
Yeah.
So the college freshman or junior or even senior who has zero experience is treating that book probably with less gravitas because it's not written by a PhD. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of a contrarian, perverse universe these kids live in. And I think the main thing they teach in college is risk aversion rather than risk leveraging. And that's where success happens, is in risk leveraging, not through risk aversion.
Yeah, there's actually, in fact, there's a local tutoring company I'm working with right now on a possibility of doing some financial classes for kids.
Oh, cool.
All the way from elementary all the way up to college age. And, it's one of those things that's really just not taught in school, and that's, not offense to anybody who's teaching it. It's just kind of a fact. And a lot of times we put too much credibility on letters and stuff on the end of a name. And in fact, I was talking to someone earlier about a degree plan and going to school and everything, and I said there, a lot of people, they put too much emphasis on the degree, and your degree is not an investment. Your education is an investment, because you can get a degree without getting the education, and vice versa. So, even if I'm not saying don't get a degree, but if you're getting a degree, you definitely need to learn what you're supposed to be learning there.
Exactly right. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids, particularly those who get these business degrees, are sent there by parents who have no business experience, and so they have really little to test it on. I love the idea of financial literacy being taught early. The earlier, the better. Money, is just arithmetic. It's addition and subtraction. But unless you've been given lots of skills early and taught early about it, it gets pretty scary when your first encounters with it is in, post high school, and it's like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, well, and I'm not going to say that I didn't have, I guess, a good upbringing with that. I mean, I had my parents and grandparents probably did their best to try to teach me some principles about. I do remember one thing my grandfather did teach me about saving. But as far as, and then he passed before I got too much older, I learned later on in life that there were some questions I probably could have asked if he had still been around that probably could have been helpful. But, there were some things that I learned, as far as saving for what I want. The only problem was that's about as far as it took me at that point. I would save for what I want, and then I would get it, and then I'd be broke again. And then when I went into college, like you said, you learn some different things real quick, and I learned about the credit cards and all of that stuff from the credit card company side, where I became the victim. And
you didn't realize how much so.
Yeah, so people wonder how I know some of this stuff, and how to get out of debt and how to handle these finances this way. Well, it's because I learned one the hard way. So it's, like you said earlier, the experience of going through stuff, building a decent amount of wealth, just even while most of my kids or most of my friends were still in college, getting out of school and everything, I was building myself to, my goal was to be a millionaire by the time I was 25. So, and I did it before most of them were out of school.
Yeah. So you talk about a mentor who played a huge role in that. Is he still alive?
No, he actually passed several years ago, but I actually do have another mentor that I work with now. I think it's very important to have a mentor or a coach type person in your life, because they can just see stuff that you can't sometimes, no matter how good you are. I mean, everybody. All of the best at everything that they do have some kind of person in their life like that.
A coach, let me tell you, every single professional athlete, what's his name? Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, if they are in the playoffs, Kobe Bryant has a personal coach that he pays out of his own income to come in to help him through the playoffs, to take his game to a higher level. Professional athletes do that. Every career coach, every success coach, business coach, finance coach, if they're any good, they've got a coach of their own. And so, they drink out of their own Kool-Aid. And the reason why people need a coach is because we need that third-party objectivity that we can't otherwise get. And so I think it's awesome what you do. And so I want to encourage the listener to check out Chris Kidd, that's KIDD.com. And, we never hardly talk about your book as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, my book, Defeating Debt, that's, a lot of people say, well, you spend a lot of time working on investments and wealth building with a lot of my clients and stuff. Why'd you write a book on getting out of debt? Why didn't you just go straight for the wealth building side first? And I said, well, it's really not just a book on getting out of debt. It's a money management book. So it doesn't matter how much money that you make, and it's been proven over and over and over by people who get millions of dollars, whether it's a professional athlete, an entertainer, a lottery winner, or whatever, and it's gone a few years later. My mentor used to say that if somebody gives you $1 million, you'd better become a millionaire so you can keep it.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's somewhere around 30% of all Michigan lottery winners end up being bankrupt within 5 years. 30%. And so that doesn't mean it ends there. That means probably in 10 years, another 20% have done that. And so money doesn't solve problems. All it does is create a whole unique set of new problems.
Yeah, it definitely creates new problems. And if you haven't fixed the management side, That's just like the fundamentals or the foundation of a building, like this building across the street over here. If the foundation's shaky, that thing's not going to be very sturdy and it'll collapse. So, that book, Defeating Debt, is really something that I used just as a foundation to give people, a solid foundation to stand on as far as managing their personal finances, getting out of debt if they're in debt, and how to avoid getting back into it, because that's another thing that people do is they get out of debt and then come right back into it.
Yeah, and also I think part of that, the context of all that, is that if you are being taught how to make money, but you have massive debt and an infrastructure that only fosters more debt, all you're going to be doing is creating money for going into a black hole. And in the end, that's just going to create more frustration and probably more people you owe, because you fool yourself in thinking you can leverage this money beyond its limits, because that's what got you in that hole in the first place.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you make $10 million a month and you're spending $10 million a month. You're not doing any better than somebody that's making $1,000 a month and spending $1,000 a month.
Although you might have more fun.
You might look like it.
You might have more fun stuff. But other than that, all right, Chris Kidd, make sure you check him out, chriskidd.com. We love doing your stories with your guests, but we also love talking to you as well. Thanks so much.
Good to be here.
You bet. When we come back, more for you right here on The Price of Business.